A former Houston officer charged for assaulting a handcuffed man. Former Houston police officer Lucas Vieira, 31 years of age, has been indicted on aggravated assault charges and faces a first-degree felony charge, which carries a possible term of 99 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. I know the fine seems low, the years are very high. The black man who was assaulted, Andre Howard, 34 years of age, filed a federal civil rights lawsuit alleging excessive force in April. The incident occurred when Vieira initiated a stop for a traffic violation on July 7, 2019. Howard had been ordered out of his car and handcuffed by this officer. Howard had complied, did what the officer told him to do, had no weapons, but was still placed in the squad car before a second officer could perform what the suit described as a body cavity search. Howard fled, in fear of his safety. In a brief body cam video released by Howard's attorney, Vieira can be seen chasing Howard, shouting, "Shoot his ass." Remember, no weapons, no warrants, but the cop is saying, "Shoot him," as he's running away. To a second officer who is making gunshot sounds. The second officer detained Howard, and when Vieira finally caught up, he used another pair of handcuffs, like a pair of brass knuckles, to repeatedly beat the man. Let me show you a video.
Just shoot his ass! Shoot his ass! Bah! 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 All right, bro, you got it. You got it, bro. You got it. You got it, bro.
Okay, they handcuffed him. And then they took additional handcuffs, wrapped those handcuffs around a fist, and used them as brass knuckles to beat this man. Who did that? Who's been arrested for doing that? This guy. That's him. That's your perp. Okay. Looks like maybe tough guy, right? Can handle himself. He's a police officer. Who did he brutally beat in handcuffs? This young man. Him. Andre Howard. Look at him. He was afraid. He could have died that night. He received a severe beating. Let me tell you what else happened. According to the lawsuit, the young man you just saw, defecated on himself because he was so afraid, which led to further humiliation after he was brought to the back of the police car. You know what these officers did? They pulled down his pants to show publicly the defecation and his genitals to those who were passing by on the street. Are you hearing me? That is what they did allegedly to this young man after they beat him. They humiliated him, wanted to strip him of his dignity. You know, this story just has so much wrong with it. Jordan, what are your thoughts?
I mean, you aren't lying and you aren't exaggerating when you say he could have died that night. So they were hitting him in the back of the head, and that is something so dangerous. It's illegal in the UFC because the brainstem is accessible from the back of the head, and on top of you could cripple somebody permanently, and you can kill them with blunt force trauma to the back of the head. And what they did was, on top of that, on top of hitting him, they added a makeshift brass knuckle with the handcuffs. That is horrifying. That is unbelievably reckless and dangerous. And you saw that in his behavior in the run up to that, as he's sprinting forward, making gun noises with his mouth, and then go in and throws like haymakers with a makeshift brass knuckle. This isn't somebody who is invested in public safety, which is purportedly the role of the police in society. This is somebody who is a raving lunatic. He's out for blood, and he's out to cause and inflict harm. They humiliate this guy. They harm him. They brutally assault him, and maybe he'll be punished in the end. I mean, hopefully, but I don't hold my breath on these things anymore. We've seen time and time again the system work to protect these types of cops. So I'm not holding my breath. I would like to see some sort of justice for this guy, because look, if he runs away, okay, maybe you slap him on the wrist. You don't serve judgment right then and there. That's not how our system should work. Just as we've seen time and time again, you don't shoot people on the spot for disobeying. Like with Walter Scott just simply running away, he did not deserve to die. So these types of systems these types of incidents show how the police responds with violence first, questions later.
Think about the kind of depraved and reprobated mind it takes to beat a man, taking your handcuffs to beat a man in the back of the head. He's so afraid he defecates on himself, and you decide to take his pants down, exposing the defecation. I know it's graphic. We got to deal with it. We got to deal with it. It is true. Taking the man's pants down and exposing his genitalia, exposing this embarrassment to make sure that people who are passing by could see him so that he could simply be humiliated. Think about what kind of mind you have to do something like that to another human being. And we're giving you a position of public trust. We're paying you from hard-earned taxpayer dollars to protect and serve. You took an oath to uphold not only the statutes and laws, but the Constitution, which is rooted in human dignity. That's who you are. This is who you are, and you don't exist by yourself because your partner didn't snitch on you. The folks that took the report did not snitch on you. Everybody knew what was happening here. The young man said it. He told everyone what went down. It took filing a federal lawsuit. Now the question is, what are they going to do to root out the rest of the corruption in that department? Because I promise you, the culture of corruption is present there, because nobody would think to act this way without feeling protected by the culture that they work in.